What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this edition of Gin and Tonic. I'm your host, as always, John J. II. I hope you guys are having a beautiful day today on a Thursday, October 7th, 2021. Today we got a great topic for you. Going to be talking about some sports betting stuff. Revolves around the world of sports betting. And like I talked about in the Gin Sports Network podcast yesterday, we are in the eclipse. We are in the sports eclipse. Early mid-October. Is when we have the most sports in the same amount of time at the same time of the year. So it's really an exciting time for sports bettors, sports enthusiasts all over the map. So really exciting time. Just want to emphasize that. So let's talk about the topic at hand. Pete Rose. Everybody knows Pete Rose got banned for life from baseball for betting on the game. Banned for doing what he was good at. Doing, the next best thing that he was good at right after baseball, right after getting the most hits, getting a record amount of hits in the MLB. He was a great bettor, great sports bettor, sports handicapper, and he just announced today that he is coming out with a sports gambling podcast of his own. And that's something that's really impressive to see coming out of this. Pete Rose, something that really destroyed his career. To really see him rise above the ashes, to make something out of it, and especially in this new day and age where sports betting is essentially at our fingertips. We have our own sports books in our own hands and our own fingertips, and it's really just a crazy time to be alive. But this podcast will be called Pete Rose's Daily Picks. So I'm assuming this will be available everywhere: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all over the Google sphere, everywhere where you can find your podcast, similar to the Gin Sports Network group of podcasts, which I highly encourage you guys to check out if you haven't done so already. But this is controversial. This is raising controversy, and of course, it wouldn't be like us here at Gin Pros to not flock to this. So he released in a statement, "I know how it looks, and people will criticize," Rose told USA Today, "but it's not gambling. It's handicapping. I'm a handicapper. That goes on everywhere. All I'm doing is lending my expertise to people who want to bet." And, that's a really easy fail-safe, going and defaulting to the entire thing where, I'm not betting, I'm just handicapping. Okay, just handicapping. Don't worry about it. So, it's something that's a really easy default. I think it adds more to the conversation, more to the credibility of, whoever the sports handicapper, sports bettor is. If they actually take their own picks, they bet their own picks, they get high on their own supply, it says more for their own bets, and it kind of gives them more of a, more experience, more expertise. It gives them more credibility as a sports handicapper, sports bettor, compared to the people that are just handicapping those bets, those picks. That's something that we like to emphasize here at Gin Pros too, that the bets that we release, the bets that we give out to the people, at least the free bets for now, until we get into sports betting packages and picks like that where they'll be paid. It'll be a paid service eventually. And Seth and I are working on that, trust me. But every bet that we put out there, we're putting our own hard-earned money on that. We're betting on ourselves. We're betting on our own picks. Win or lose, we're ride or die with those picks. So that's something that is very important to note, something very important to recognize when getting into or involved with any of the picks that we release on any of our social media platforms. So make sure you're aware of that. So just to reiterate, Pete Rose was banned for life from baseball in 1989 after he was accused of gambling on games both as a player for the Reds and as the team's manager. Rose admitted to betting on games in 2004, and his ban from the MLB has stood despite his induction into the Reds' Hall of Fame in 2016. Now, you will never see Pete Rose on a ballot to get inducted to the MLB Hall of Fame. You just won't see it. This scandal is so huge, it's so massive, it essentially ruined his career. And now, I know everyone's seen that iconic picture of Pete Rose diving headfirst into first base. Very iconic, very iconic. I saw that happen in the Tampa Bay Rays Red Sox game earlier. It just reminded me of Pete Rose. I'm like, you know what? I got to do a gin and tonic on Pete Rose. This just reminded me. See a guy diving into first. You don't see that every day. We're in the postseason of MLB right now. Very exciting time, very hot time. Right here, couldn't have come at a better time in the eclipse of sports. Right here, early mid-October. So really exciting time. Great time to be alive. To quote Drake, what a time to be alive. So I'll wrap it up with this. Make sure you guys tune into Pete Rose's podcast. I know for sure I will. I got to check it out. See what he's betting, see how he makes his picks, see if he's betting on other sports other than the MLB, even though he got banned for life from betting on the MLB and betting on baseball. What does he bet? What does he handicap? What is his strategy? Things of that nature. So I'll be checking that out, and we'll be talking about that more on our podcast coming up this week. But I'll leave it at that, guys. Make sure to tune in to the Gin College podcast coming at you tomorrow around 3:30, 4 o'clock p.m. Friday, October 8th, talking about the upcoming games going on this weekend. Getting into conference play. Things are getting hot and heavy. We love it. And we're very excited anticipating this weekend's games, guys. Lots of good games. Lots of high intensity, high octane competition. So make sure to tune in to that, and we'll be in touch very soon. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Check out our link tree in the description below. And yeah, we'll see you guys there on the other side. But for now, I'll leave it at that. Thank you for tuning into this edition of Gin and Tonic. I'm your host, as always, John J. II. Have a great night.